السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. والصلاة والسلام على النبي العربي المبعوث للناس أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. I want to begin by first giving my heartfelt gratitude and thanks for our respected Sheikh Abdul Hadi for facilitating this very important lecture. And then I also want to extend to Brother Abdul Ghafoor, Brother Aqib, and those people who are linked to the Masjid. Wallahi, this is the first time I'm here in this particular part of the Masjid. I was invited to the opening, but unfortunately I had another talk somewhere else, so I said to the organizers I won't be able to attend the particular function. But just to see the amazing facility and how everything is developing, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to add it onto the scale of the good deeds of our elders, like our Shaykh who's sitting on my left hand side. I want to say I am not a Shaykh. Wallahi, this is our Shaykh. People who have studied for many years, people who have been providing the services to the community in line with authentic Quran and Sunnah. And what we are doing is trying to follow in the footsteps of our scholars like Shaykh Abdul Hadi. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of their efforts. Today's lecture, in fact the whole seminar, is about preparing ourselves for the month of Ramadan. Wallahi, in 3 weeks time, we will be immersed in Ramadan. We will have broken our fast, taqriban around this time, and we will be feeling the spirit of the month of Ramadan. And I want to begin the talk quickly by making you feel appreciative of how Allah has given you tawfiq up until today to be alive. We don't know about the mustaqbal future. Maybe I may not see Ramadan this year, but at least we can say up until this day we are alive. How many people do you know who were alive last year who were part of Ramadan 2023 and who have passed away? So this is the first thing. We have to give shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the tawfiq to be alive and take us to the blessed month of Ramadan. We only have a few weeks left. The month where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِذَا دَخَلَ رَمَضَانِ, when the month of Ramadan comes, فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ, the gates of Jannah open. وَخُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ جَهَنَّمِ, the gates of Jahannam close. وَسُلْسِلَةِ الشَّيَاطِينِ, and the devils are chained up. This is the month that has so much barakah and mercy, and you can feel and taste that mercy, that spirituality. And once this month leaves, we feel heartbroken. So this is why it's important to prepare for this month before the month actually arrives. Prepare yourself physically, prepare yourself spiritually, prepare yourself mentally. Because like Hafiz Ammar read from the Quran, this concept of fasting is not only for the Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Baqarah, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. This concept of fasting has been prescribed not only upon you, O Muslims. It has been prescribed or was prescribed to those nations before, the people of the book. Why? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you can come out of the month of Ramadan or from the month of fasting or from your actual fast by being more God conscious, by being more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the concept of fasting. It's never about reducing your weight. It's never about measuring how many calories and abstaining from food, water and other things. Wallahi, this is not the spirit of fasting Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the objective of fasting is what? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may get closer to Allah, develop righteousness, develop God consciousness, develop the piety. So it's almost like a spiritual exercise alongside a physical exercise. The physical aspect is to abstain from food, water, and anything that is normally permissible for you, which is halal, it becomes haram, like relationship between husband and wife and other things. It's about controlling your desires. The desire to eat, the desire to drink, the desire not to get involved in any fighting, any arguing, any quarreling. All of these things, inshallah, we shall discuss in my talk to make this the best Ramadan for you this year, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I'm sure you will agree with me, the normal thing that we see in the month of Ramadan are two things. One is the eagerness of the Muslim community. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. From the north to the south, to the east to the west, the kufi, the topi comes out, the thobe is ironed, the miswak, the ittar, everything comes out, Taraweeh, every masjid is packed out. We see the eagerness. But similarly, at the end of the month of Ramadan, we are heartbroken to see that the same masajid that were filled with Taraweeh, which is not even fard, are now left empty. It's almost as though the masjid is saying, where have you gone, O Muslims? The salawat, the 5 daily prayers are more important than your Taraweeh. So the first thing that we must make sure that we program in our minds is that your prayer is more important, and start working on your 5 prayers before the month of Ramadan. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ مَا يُحَاسَبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مِنْ عَمَلِهِ صَلَاتُهُ. The first question you will be asked on the Day of Judgment will be about your prayers. Not about your fasting, not about your zakat, not about your sadaqah, not about how good a son you were, or good daughter you were, or a good neighbor. فَإِنْ صَلُحَتْ قَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَأَنْجَحَ. If you are successful, then Allah will say, okay, let's measure your Ramadan. Let's measure how good you have been in society. But if your salawat are negligent, and you haven't been praying, then we will be from the khasireen, those losers, those people who will have nothing on the Day of Judgment. Because our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, بَيْنَ الْعَبْدِ وَبَيْنَ الْكُفْرِ تَرْكُ الصَّلَاةِ. So the point that I want to put into our minds first is, let us put the horse before the cart. Don't put the cart before the horse, because we say Ramadan, fasting, everything, then we leave it. The prayers, we have nothing to do with it. Rather, Islam is about praying 5 times a day, every week, every month, every year. And then in this year, Allah gives us one blessed month called the month of Ramadan. Please do not make the mistake of turning up in the month of Ramadan and being the first person in the sufuf. And then when the month of Ramadan goes, you have no connection with the masajid. We know you can do this. We see, mashallah, your energy, your eagerness. Taraweeh is very difficult, 1.5 hours. After you've been fasting, you're tired, but you are standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But brothers, remember, your fard prayer is more important, and you have to make that habit. Like our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith collected by Imam Muslim, مَنْ صَلَّى الْعِشَاءِ فِي جَمَاعَةٍ فَكَأَنَّمَا قَامَ نِصْفَ اللَّيْلِ. Whoever prays Isha with Jama'ah, it is as though you prayed half of the night. وَمَنْ صَلَّى الصُّبْحِ فِي جَمَاعَةٍ فَكَأَنَّمَا صَلَّى اللَّيْلَ كُلَّهُ. And whoever prays a Fajr with the Jama'ah, it's as though you prayed the entire night. And wallahi, I see this happening with you. You can do this. In Taraweeh, you do this. Shaykh Abdul Hadi sees you doing this in the month of Ramadan. But when the month of Ramadan finishes, we have no connection. So I want to really get the priority right first. Get the prayer sorted first, then the bonus is the month of Ramadan. Do not deprive yourself of the blessing of Ramadan by just turning up and fasting and doing Taraweeh, and then when the month of Ramadan goes, we have nothing left. Make sure you work on your prayers first. You pray Isha with Jama'ah, 10 minutes, like you will pray. You pray Fajr with the Jama'ah, 10 minutes. It's as though you prayed the whole night. You do this in Ramadan, but try and do this also outside of the month of Ramadan. So, how do you make this the best Ramadan? I want to give you a scenario, hypothetical scenario. Imagine that you go to your doctor and he says that unfortunately we have detected something in your blood work. You have 6 to 8 weeks to live. Imagine this is a situation and you are coming to the month of Ramadan. You want to make this the best Ramadan because you know there is a strong possibility that towards the end of Ramadan you are going to leave this dunya. How are you going to make sure that your ibadah, your a'mal are such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be pleased with you? This is the mindset that you should come with and approach the month of Ramadan. Because we have many narrations where our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that your mindset should be that you should wake up in the morning thinking there's a strong possibility that you may not make it to the night. And you should do the same when you go to sleep in the night, thinking that there's a strong possibility I may not wake up in the morning. And once you live your life like this, you will make sure that you do everything properly in accordance to what our deen teaches us. Don't lay it off till you're older like we have in our communities, 40, 50, 60, dunya. When you get to 70 years of age, Haji Saab, go and do Hajj, wear a topi, and sit in the masjid until, for 10, 15 years. This is not Islam. Islam is when you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a young age when the pens begin to write. So the first important thing is that you must get your priorities right, get the prayer right, and then inshallah prepare yourself for the month of Ramadan. Because the reward is such, like our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُلُّ عَمْلِ إِبْنَ آدَمْ لَهُ إِلَّا السَّيَامَ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that all of the actions of the son of Adam are for him. He gets certain reward. But the fasting gets a specific, unique reward. Specific. Because remember, it's not easy. You're abstaining from food and water. You're abstaining from the things that make you physically, give you energy and stamina and endurance. And you're doing this for who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When no one's watching, you're at home, you could so easily open the fridge and have a little nibble. But it is your God consciousness and it is your fear of Allah when no one is looking that you say, no, wallahi, I fear Allah and I will continue with my fast. This fast will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the scholars mention, like Imam Malik rahimahullah, he mentions that this specific reward means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you 700-fold on the Day of Judgment. So much. You will see the a'mal and the ujur of the other actions, but when it comes to fasting, it will be so much. Shaykh Salih Fawzan, Hafidhullah, he mentions a beautiful statement about this as well. He says what? He says, on the Day of Judgment when we have our Hisab Kitab, may Allah protect us all. People will come to us and say, Fulan, backbite. He did this against me. Our deeds will be taken. All of our good actions will be taken apart from the fasting. This will be safeguarded. It's almost as though it's protected. Everything else could be taken. You're giving in sadaqah, you're being a good neighbor, all the other good deeds could be taken, but your fasting, it will be safeguarded, even though you have oppressed somebody else. May Allah protect us all from this, because like our Nabi said, people will come with mountains of ujur, of good deeds and rewards. But because of our weakness, because we violated the rights of other people, we will begin to slowly see all of the mountain be reduced to a small hill. Then it becomes a mound, then it becomes nothing. Apart from the fasting, which will be safeguarded. So, let us talk you through a simple day by beginning waking you up in the morning. Normally what happens, we wake up in the morning, we don't even have the great start of fasting. We just roll out of bed. How long for suhoor? 10 minutes. I don't even want to eat anything. You do miswak, quick, we say turuti, and then you want to go to the masjid. When we don't eat anything, what happens? As the day progresses, you're going to start feeling ratty. Your sugar levels go up and down. You start getting angry. You start fighting. That is why our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said this beautiful thing to get you ready for the fasting. He said, "Tasahharu fa inna fi suhuri barakah." Have something to eat in the morning. It has barakah in this. A bit of porridge, a bit of dates. Don't go for the greasy parathas, I tell you this. You will go high, and then when you start feeling like you want to drink water, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you can't drink water, you're in the state of fasting. Make sure you know what you want to eat. Be clever. Nowadays you can make milkshakes from fruit, pistachios, almonds. You can use complex carbohydrates which will give you that energy to keep you going through the day. You will not crash. So make sure that you know what you're eating in the morning. And this is also in line with the hadith of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam who said, "Tasahharu fa inna fi suhuri barakah." Make sure you have something. Don't go on an empty stomach. Because all you're going to do is argue with your wife. You're going to be the worst father, shouting at everyone because you're angry and you didn't even have suhoor in the morning. So make sure you stay and start off your day properly. The second point I want to mention is that whilst you now are into your day of fasting, make sure you have this key concept that you need for the month of Ramadan and even outside the month of Ramadan, which is sabr. You need sabr. You need patience. Sabr is going to be tested. Wallahi, I remember 5-6 years ago the amount of fights and gang wars that happen in the first week of Ramadan in our Muslim areas. It goes through the roof. I'm sure you will agree with me. People are fighting, especially in the summer. I remember in the summer, youngsters fighting, gang fighting, stabbing in the month of Ramadan. Because we have no patience. We are on the edge. We are deprived of food and water, and we haven't understood the concept of fasting. Allah doesn't want you to abstain from food and water. Allah wants you to gain spirituality. So when somebody says to you, "I want to fight you," argue with you, you just walk away. I am fasting. That is why we have a hadith. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Was-siyamu junnatu." Siyam or fasting is supposed to be like a shield. وَإِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَصْخَبْ. When you are in the state of fasting, do not use any foul speech, do not quarrel. Even if somebody, the hadith goes on to mention, even if somebody says to you, "You want to fight?" You say, "I am as-sa'im. I am fasting. I am in the state of fasting. I'm just going to walk away." Wallahi, who can get to that level? Tell me. I'm going to be honest here. I would struggle sometimes. So that is why Ramadan means you start preparing before the month of Ramadan. You don't just go into the month of Ramadan and start preparing from today by abstaining from things that make you angry. Or if you get into a situation which is heated, take a deep breath. Think to yourself, what if I was fasting here? How would I react? Because in a few weeks' time, when I am fasting and I do react, I will have no ajr. I will lose all of my reward. Like the hadith our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man lam yada' qawla zuri wal amala bih, falaysa lillahi hajatun in yada' ta'amahu wa sharabahu." Whoever doesn't give up evil actions, foul speech, bad stuff. Allah is not in need of you abstaining from food and water. It's not a Weight Watchers competition. There will not be a scale to say, MashaAllah, you started the month of Ramadan 12 stone, you have lost half a stone, yes, you will get reward. It is not about this. It is a form of tazkiyatun nafs. And wallahi, I feel we need a lot of tazkiyatun nafs. I will be straight with you, brothers. Our da'wah of Quran and Sunnah, we focus on certain things more than others, and Islam is comprehensive. Our Salaf, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimullah, Ibn Qayyim rahimullah, Kitab al-Ruh, we have to also work on our inside as well. Don't get angry, don't get jealous, don't get envious. We focus on the exterior, how big the beard is, how well we're dressed outside, how we can judge people from the exterior. Rather, we need to work on our interior as well. And this is exactly what the month of Ramadan does. Allah doesn't need us to abstain from food and water. He needs us to make sure that we are doing things that will make our soul better. Alongside this, you have the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves anyway, such as, for example, reading Quran. This is the month of the Quran. This is the month, or the month of Ramadan is when the Quran was revealed. 23 years of revelation. 23 years. The ahkam, Makkah, Medina, what to do, what not to do. It's not to read for the dead. It's not to gather people together and say, let's read, it's for you to follow in your life. It's for you to implement in your life. It's for you to have tadabbur, tafakkur, read what is Allah saying. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een, they used to be stuck on 5 verses for maybe weeks. You may be thinking, 5 verses for weeks? Were they weak in memory? No. They said, until we acted upon those verses, we would not move forward. You know, we have the ratta system, yeah, nowadays. I can do 5 pages a day, 10 pages a day. This was not the way of the Sahaba. And until they implemented those ayat that they were memorizing into their lives, they would not go any further. And this is exactly the mindset that we should have when you are reading the Quran. If you do not understand Arabic, please read in English the tafsir as well, the translation. See what your Lord is saying. You know, these people who become Muslims, the reverts, converts, do you think they know Arabic? They read Alif Lam Mim Dhalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fihi. Oh, I know what it means. No. They read the Quran in English and it hits their soul. They say there is a higher being, there is a God. And then they give their life into the obedience of Allah. If you want to make this Ramadan the best, wallahi, understand what you are reading. Apply that into your life. Also, something else that we should be doing in the month of Ramadan, you see this a lot, is charity, sadaqah. I'm sure every night here in Mohammadi Masjid, as well as many of the masajid across the country, every night there will be fundraising. Maybe to the masjid, maybe for Gaza, maybe for other places. But it is a month of giving. Don't be a person who's bakhil, miserly. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not like this quality of being miserly. Give in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this blessed month. And also help and support people in society. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى أَنْفَعَهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. The best people in the eyes of Allah are those who are beneficial to humanity and society and to the community. وَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ سُرُورٌ يُدْخِلُ عَلَى مُسْلِمٍ. The one who puts a smile on the face of a Muslim. Do we do this? Do we make Muslims happy when we walk past Muslims? Sometimes we don't. We walk past Muslims with such a frown, such a look. They like, subhanAllah, if I say salam to this brother, he will kill me. We have to get this thing in Islam as well, brothers and sisters. Islam is comprehensive. It's not just about memorizing the As-Sama wa Sifat and the Aqidah, very important, but alongside this, it's about having Husnul Khuluq. Using the month of Ramadan to be with those people, help the fuqara, help the masakeen. Especially in Gaza, wallahi, I have been heartbroken. Shaykh Abdul Hadi, every one of us is heartbroken from what is taking place since October. More so because of the lack of response from the global community. It's almost as though these people, our brothers and sisters, don't exist. And if it was anyone else like Ukraine, we have to send them weapons, we have to send them billions. There are 30,000 people and the number is increasing who are dying in Gaza, who have died, and it's like, well, let's take our time, we don't care. We have to care. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us to care. When he was doing tawaf around the Kaaba, he looked at the Kaaba and he said, how majestic and honorable you are in the eyes of Allah. But wallahi, you are nothing in comparison to the blood and honor of a Muslim. And how many of them are being killed? How many in Rafah crossing right now, because the aid is not being allowed in, they are fasting for 3 or 4 or 5 days. So when you feel the hunger bite, and you feel the pinch, and you've only been fasting for 6-7 hours, because these are not like the summer fast in June, July, please think about your brothers and sisters in Gaza. And then give. Say, look, I will not have my big party at any restaurant. I don't want to name restaurants. Anyone where you spend 80, 90, 100 pounds. Say, you know what, today we will have a small iftar with my family, and the 70, 80 pounds that I would have spent, I will give to Gaza. This is what Islam, this is what the month of Ramadan is about. Not about having parties. Not about telling your mothers and wives to say, stay on the kitchen stove. Mom, make sure there's 6 dishes today. How is she going to read the Quran? There's only half an hour left for iftar. This is the time of qabuliyah. This is the time of acceptance. And mom is putting, better try this. Okay, need more basar in this. And she's the master chef. This is not Islam. Islam is about putting everything aside. When it comes to iftar, 20 minutes, and then asking Allah, Ya Allah, please accept my fast. If there's been any shortcomings, Ya Allah, please forgive me. You can also invite your friends for iftar, and you get the reward. Man fattara sa'iman, kana lahu mithlu ajrihi. Whoever invites a person to fast, break a fast, you will get the reward, same as the person who's fasting. There will be no decrease in any of he will not get any decrease, and you will not get any decrease. Wallahi, just by inviting. Why? Because Islam is about akhuwah, brotherhood. Having the love for your brother. Not being miserly. Even your neighbors, people that you have with you, who you know, invite them over. Have a non-Muslim iftar as well. Invite them to the masjid. Show them what Ramadan is about. They see the spirit of Ramadan, how you are abstaining from food and water. And they will say, what kind of religion do they follow? They are strict, they are disciplined. I remember again, because my mind is a lot in this conflict in Gaza, the amount of da'wah that has come out of the Gaza conflict is better than me or any of the du'at could do. Because when they see the resilience on the videos, when somebody's child dies, and all they are saying is, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. They're not crying and banging bottles. The non-Muslims look at this and say, what is this religion? Who is this God? Everything is being destroyed around them, and they are turning to this higher being, and then they read the Quran, and there are so many people accepting Islam now. Very important. Give some of your sadaqah in this month of Ramadan, and also invite your friends. Have that akhuwa, the brotherhood, the love. I remember when our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he came to Medina, that was the first thing he said to the Muslim community. Afshu salam bainakum, give salam to each other, stand up in the night and pray. He didn't say judge each other, go around, be the Sharia police. He said start off by creating a community where you have harmony between yourself. And sometimes we become, especially the youngsters, I have to say this, brothers and sisters, we have to have a level of tolerance. This is from the Sunnah. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Yassiru wa la tuassiru wa bashiru wa la tunaffiru. Take it easy, make things easy for the people. Don't be too harsh. Wa bashiru wa la tunaffiru. Give them glad tidings. Don't turn them away from the religion. We know youngsters who go into their house, they start practicing, the lihya comes, and the auntie comes from Bradford, Leeds or whatever, she hasn't seen the nephew after 10-15 years, but because her hijab is a bit loose, I don't want to talk to you. If her hijab, this is the, some people, they won't even pray the janazah of their mother. She went to the graves. This is not the deen that our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent. He was rahmatan lil alameen, a mercy to mankind. So this is also part of your fasting, that you are developing this patience. When you want to say something, you bite it. You swallow your anger. This is part of fasting. And so when it comes to the end of the night, you've broken your fast, you make your dua, then you come to the prayer like I said. All of this you are getting reward for this. And then when the month of Ramadan finishes, look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you extra bonus. That you have the 6th fast of Shawwal, if you want to. Like our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith collected by Imam Muslim, Man sama Ramadan thumma atba'ahu sittan min Shawwal kana kasiyam ad-dahr. Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan, fulfills the obligations, and then chooses to go for the optional fasts, like an overtime, like a bonus, it is as though you fasted for the entire year, you will get all the reward. This is how generous our Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And I want to conclude by a very dangerous or very a hadith that will really scare you. And I see this happening to many people after the month of Ramadan, and I get scared as well for the people. It's the way we approach Ramadan and we leave Ramadan, and we have nothing to take from Ramadan based on this hadith here. Jibreel alayhi salam, he ascends from the 7 heavens. Our Nabi is ascending the minbar. 1 foot, Ameen. 2nd foot, Ameen. 3rd foot, Ameen. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een, this is something they see for the first time. They are a bit surprised. Ya Rasulullah, is this like a sunnah now? Is this what is this? He said, no, wallahi, today from the 7 heavens, Jibreel alayhi salam, he ascended and he made a dua, and he said to me, say Ameen to each of the du'as. First of those du'as was, whoever, when the name of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is mentioned, does not reciprocate by saying sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, doesn't send durood upon the Prophet, let that person be cursed, finished. To that our Nabi said Amen. Second is, وَمَنْ أَدْرَكَ وَالِدَيْهِ إِنْدَهُ الْكِبَرِ أَحَدَهُمَا أُكْلَيْهُمَا ثُمَّ لَمْ يَدْخِلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever gets to an age where one or both of his parents is alive, and he cannot look after them, he's a means of destruction for them. The mother is crying every night because the police are coming and breaking your doors down, because the son has been involved in drugs or fighting, and she's crying every night. That person is going to be deprived of Jannah. And how many times do you see this, brothers and sisters? Sometimes the fathers are saying, I wish my son wasn't born. I have to face the community who are saying, oh, your son is in and out of prison. Imagine Jibreel making the dua and our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying Ameen. And then the final one is linked to the month of Ramadan. وَمَنْ أَدْرَكَ شَهْرَ رَمَضَانَ وَلَمْ يُغْفِرْ لَهُ فَدَخَلَ النَّارِ. Whoever sees the month of Ramadan and is not forgiven, then he will enter the fire. What does it mean, not forgiven? one of the alamat, one of the signs is when you let the month of Ramadan go, there is no change in you. You stop praying. You were here for Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, every day. Month of Ramadan goes, you think, I am the best Muslim. You have no connection with the masjid. All you got from this was abstaining from food and water. And also, may Allah protect us, we are on the receiving end of the du'as of not only Jibreel alayhi salam, but our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Do you think this du'a will be rejected? No. So I want to conclude by saying, let this month of Ramadan not be like your normal months of Ramadan when the Muslims come out in their millions across the world. And it is a great sight to see. But at the same time, with a heavy heart, when the month of Ramadan goes, so do the Muslims who melt away into the shadows and they leave everything. Let us not be like those Muslims. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this month of Ramadan the best Ramadan for us. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of our good deeds and to make it easy for all of our brothers and sisters who are going through difficulty and hardship throughout the world. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.